The warning lights on Earth Defense Station Olympus turned red at exactly 6:47 a.m. Captain was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm system screamed to life. He dropped his cup and ran to the command center, his heart pounding in his chest. "Sir, we have multiple contacts," shouted the sensor officer. "They just appeared out of nowhere, right above Earth's orbit." Stared at the main screen. Hundreds of dots filled the display, each one representing a ship. But these were not human ships. They were massive, dark, and shaped like nothing humanity had ever built. The largest vessel hung in the center like a metal mountain, easily 10 times bigger than Earth's biggest space station. "Get me Admiral now," ordered. Across the globe, every military base, every space station, and every defense platform detected the same thing. An alien fleet had arrived at Earth, and they had not come in peace. Doctor rushed into the Xenobiology Research Center in Geneva, still wearing her pajamas under her lab coat. She had been dreaming about first contact with aliens her whole life, but not like this, never like this. "Play the transmission again," she told her assistant. The speakers crackled to life. A deep, electronic voice filled the room. It spoke in perfect English, though the accent was strange and cold. "Primitive species of the third planet. You are now property of the Dominion Collective. We have conquered 847 worlds before yours. We give you 48 hours to surrender your weapons, your governments, and your freedom. Comply, and you will be allowed to serve. Resist, and you will be. There is no third option." The transmission ended. Silence filled the laboratory. "They think we're primitives," whispered. "They think we'll just give up." Her assistant, a young man named, clenched his fists. "Will we?" Looked at him, then at the image of the alien fleet on her screen. "I don't know, but I need to analyze everything about this transmission. Every word, every sound, every frequency. If we're going to survive this, we need to understand them." Meanwhile, Admiral stood in the war room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around her, holographic displays showed Earth's military forces. Ships, weapons, soldiers, everything humanity had built to protect itself. It looked impressive until you compared it to what hung in the sky above them. "We're outnumbered 50-1, said General, Commander of Ground Forces. "Our ships are smaller, our weapons less advanced. If they attack with full force, Earth will fall in days." "Then we don't let them attack with full force," replied. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. "We have 48 hours. I want every ship armed and ready, every soldier at their post, every weapon system online. And I want our scientists working on any weakness these aliens might have." "And if we can't find a weakness?" asked another officer. Smiled, though there was no humor in it. "Then we make our own." The next 48 hours passed like a nightmare. Earth's governments argued about what to do. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight. Many wanted to negotiate. But the aliens sent no more messages. They just waited, silent and terrifying, above the planet. Captain worked without sleep, preparing his station for battle. He walked through the corridors, looking at the faces of his crew. They were scared. They had every right to be. Most of them had joined Earth Defense to protect against pirates or asteroids, not to fight an alien empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. "Captain," said one young officer, "do you think we can win?" Paused. He could lie. He could offer false hope, but these people deserve the truth. "I don't know if we can win," he said quietly, "but I know we can fight, and sometimes that's enough." Sat in the cockpit of his fighter craft, running system checks for the 10th time. He was 23 years old, one of Earth's best pilots in simulations, but he had never fired a weapon in real combat, never killed anyone, never faced death. His hands were shaking. "First time is always the hardest," said a voice. Looked up to see an older pilot, a woman with gray hair and a face. "I'm Commander Sara. Used to be a mining engineer before they put me in charge of weapons systems." "Do you think our weapons will work against them?" asked. Sora grinned. I made some modifications. See, we humans are good at one thing, we take what we have and we make it hurt. Those aliens have fancy shields and advanced technology, but I bet they've never been hit by a mining laser modified to punch through starship armor, or that fires chunks of metal at a tenth the speed of light. But will it be enough? Sora's grin faded. Ask me after the battle, kid. The 48 hours ended at exactly 6:47 a.m., 2 days after the aliens had arrived. Doctor was still in her laboratory, having slept maybe 4 hours total. She had learned much about the aliens. They were called the Dominion. They believed in order, control, and conquest. They saw other species as tools to be used or obstacles to be removed. They had never met a species that refused to surrender. The alien fleet powered up their weapons. Energy readings spiked across every sensor on Earth. This was it, the moment of truth. Then something unexpected happened. Earth's defense platforms came online. Hundreds of them, hidden in orbit on the Moon, on Mars, built over decades of careful preparation. Missile batteries, laser arrays, all pointing at the alien fleet. The Dominion's supreme commander watched from his flagship. He expected the humans to beg for mercy, to offer their surrender, to cry and plead. Instead, the first volley from Earth's weapons tore through his forward line of ships. The explosions lit up space like new stars being born. 3 alien vessels simply ceased to exist, blown apart by weapons moving too fast to track. 5 more took critical damage, spinning away with fires burning inside their hulls. The Supreme Commander stared in shock. These primitives had struck first. They had drawn blood. All ships, he commanded, his voice filled with rage. Open fire. Show these animals what happens when they resist the Dominion. The alien fleet unleashed its weapons. Beams of energy and streams of missiles fell toward Earth like rain. But humanity was ready. Point defense systems activated. Shields flared to life. Countermissiles launched. And in the command center of Defense Station Olympus, Captain watched the battle begin with a fierce smile on his face. All ships, he ordered. This is Olympus Command. You are cleared to engage. Show them what humanity can do. The battle for Earth had begun, and the aliens were about to learn a terrible truth. Humanity did not know how to surrender. They only knew how to fight. The first day of battle turned Earth's orbit into a graveyard. Ships burned and died on both sides, filling space with debris and fire. But something strange was happening, something the Dominion had never experienced before. They were losing. Not in numbers. The aliens still had more ships, more weapons, more technology. But every time they attacked, humanity fought back with unexpected fury. Every time they thought they had won a position, humans appeared from nowhere with new tactics, new weapons, new ways to hurt them. Commander Sora watched the battle from her engineering station deep inside the moon base. Her screens showed the weapons she had designed, modified from mining equipment and construction tools, tearing through alien ships. She had spent 3 years building these systems in secret, using money meant for asteroid mining. Everyone had called her paranoid. Now those same people were calling her a hero. Target the big one, center formation, she ordered. Fire the kinetic package. Her weapons officer hesitated. Ma'am, that's an asteroid, a whole asteroid if we miss. We won't miss, Sora interrupted. Fire it now. The kinetic kill vehicle launched. It was simple, really. Just a rock from the asteroid belt fitted with basic thrusters accelerated to incredible speed. No fancy technology, no complex systems, just mass and velocity. The asteroid hit the alien cruiser at 3% the speed of light. The ship didn't explode. It simply vanished, turned to atoms by the impact. The shockwave destroyed 2 more alien vessels nearby. Sora smiled grimly. Load the next one. In orbit above North America, Captain Squadron engaged the enemy at close range. His ship, the Defiant, weaved between alien vessels like a fighter despite being the size of a building. Human ships were smaller, more agile, and used every advantage. "On my wing," he commanded. "We're going for the command carrier." His voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, that's suicide. Their defenses are designed to stop long-range attacks," finished. "Not someone crazy enough to fly right up to them. Trust me, kid. Follow my lead." They dove toward the massive alien command ship, dodging energy beams and missiles. Hands moved faster than thought, his reflexes sharper than any computer. He had been born for this, he realized. All those years of training, of simulations, of being told he was the best, it was all for this moment. They reached the command carrier's hull. This close, the big guns couldn't track them. Armed his payload, a simple nuclear device that humans had been building for 2 centuries. Release in 3, 2, 1. The bomb planted itself on the alien hull with magnetic clamps. Squadron pulled away, racing to escape the blast radius. Behind them, the nuclear device detonated, punching through the command carrier's armor and deep into its internal systems. The massive ship shuddered. Fire bloomed from a dozen wounds. It didn't die, but it was hurt, badly hurt, and that was something the Dominion had never expected. Doctor worked in her laboratory, analyzing every piece of data from the battle. She had discovered something important, something that could change everything. "They're networked," she explained to Admiral over a video call. "All their ships, all their weapons, connected to a central tactical computer. It makes them incredibly coordinated, but it's also a weakness. If we can disrupt that network, they'll lose their advantage." Finished. "Can you do it?" Nodded. "I need time, and I need someone to get me close to one of their intact ships." "I'll send," said. "If anyone can get you what you need, it's him." Commander led Earth's special operations teams. He was a quiet man who spoke rarely but acted decisively. When he received his orders, board an alien ship, steal their technology, get out alive, he simply nodded and assembled his team. They launched in stealth pods, drifting between the battle zones like pieces of debris. It took 6 hours to reach their target, a damaged alien destroyer trying to retreat for repairs. 6 hours of floating in space, watching ships die around them, hoping no sensor would detect them. When they reached the alien ship, they cut through its hull with plasma torches and crawled inside. The interior was strange. Everything was too large, designed for beings bigger than humans. The air tasted like metal and electricity. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing with soft light. "Move quickly," whispered into his radio. "We have 10 minutes before they notice us." They found the ship's computer core and plugged in Doctor's scanning device. Data began flowing, secrets of Dominion technology streaming into the human device. Ship designs, weapon systems, communication protocols, everything. Then the alarm started. "Contact!" shouted one of soldiers. An alien appeared at the end of the corridor, massive and armored, carrying a weapon that crackled with energy. The battle inside the ship was brutal. Close quarters, no room to maneuver. But humans had one advantage. They had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew how to fight in hallways, in rooms, in the dark. The aliens had conquered worlds from space. They had never needed to learn. His team fought their way back to their entry point, carrying the precious data. 2 soldiers died holding the corridor. 3 more were wounded. But they made it out, sealing the hole behind them as the alien ship exploded, destroyed by its own self-destruct systems. On the ground, Lieutenant prepared for the worst. The aliens had started landing troops, trying to take Earth cities. Counselor had evacuated millions of civilians, but millions more remained, unable or unwilling to leave their homes. Walked through the ruined streets of Seoul, now a battlefield. His soldiers had set up defensive positions in buildings and subways. They had mines, guns, and determination. Against enemies who could level cities from orbit, it didn't seem like much. The first alien soldiers appeared at dawn. They were huge, 3 meters tall, covered in armor that shrugged off bullets. They carried weapons that fired beams of energy, melting through concrete and steel. But had a plan. "Let them come into the city," he ordered. "Don't engage at range. Wait until they're close." The aliens advanced, confident. They had done this on hundreds of worlds. Primitives always broke and ran when they saw the Dominion's ground forces. Humanity did not run. When the aliens reached the kill zone, triggered his trap. Buildings collapsed, burying the enemy soldiers. Mines exploded. Humans attacked from above, below, from every side at once. They used the city itself as a weapon, turning every street into an ambush, every building into a fortress. The aliens were stronger, tougher, better equipped. But humans were fighting for their homes, their families, their world, and that made them more dangerous than any weapon. By the third day of battle, the Dominion's supreme commander looked at his casualty reports in disbelief. He had lost 30% of his fleet. 30%. Against primitives who barely had space travel. "Withdraw," he ordered. "Pull back to the outer system. We need reinforcements." His officers looked shocked. "Sir, we've never retreated from primitives before." "These are not primitives," the Supreme Commander roared. "These are something else, something we've never encountered. They fight like demons. Every one of them is a warrior. They don't surrender, they don't break, they just keep fighting." He looked at Earth on his screen, that small blue world that should have been an easy conquest. "Send word to the High Command," he said quietly. "Request 3 full armadas. We will make an example of this world. We will show the galaxy what happens when you defy the Dominion." But in his heart, for the first time in his long career, the Supreme Commander felt something he had never experienced in battle before. He felt afraid. And on Earth, as the alien fleet pulled back, Counselor stood before cameras broadcasting to the entire world. Her face was tired but determined. "They came to make us bow," she said. "But we do not bow, we do not surrender. We are humanity, and we will fight for every inch of our world, for every moment of our freedom. Let them send their armies. Let them bring their fleets. We will show them what it means to face a species that refuses to die." The message spread across Earth, across the orbital stations, across every human ship and soldier. And in the depths of space, in ways the Dominion didn't yet understand, that message spread even further. To other conquered worlds, to other species living under Dominion rule, a message of hope, of defiance, of resistance. The war had only just begun. The Dominion reinforcements would arrive in 30 days. 3 full armadas, thousands of ships, enough firepower to crack a planet. Admirals stared at the intelligence reports and knew the truth. Earth couldn't survive another battle like the first one. They had won by surprising the enemy, by fighting dirty, by refusing to quit. But surprise only worked once. Next time the aliens would be ready. Next time they would show no mercy. Unless humanity changed the rules of the game entirely. "We can't win by defending," said to her council. "They have more ships, more resources, more time. Even if we win every battle, eventually we'll run out of ships, missiles, soldiers. We'll lose through simple mathematics." "So what do we do?" asked General. "We attack," said a new voice. Dr. Minu stepped forward, a quantum physicist who had been working on captured alien technology. "We take the fight to them." Everyone stared at him. Captain spoke first. "Attack? With what? We barely have enough ships to defend Earth." "We use their own technology against them," Minu explained, pulling up holographic displays. "Commander's team captured intact FTL drives, faster than light travel. The aliens can cross the galaxy in days. We've been stuck in our solar system for decades because we couldn't figure out how it works. Now we can." "You're saying we can build our own FTL ships?" asked. "Better," Minu smiled. I'm saying we can modify our existing ships. It'll be crude, inefficient, dangerous, but it'll work. We can strike anywhere in Dominion space, hit their supply lines, destroy their bases, force them to defend everything instead of just attacking us. Admiral looked at her officers. She saw doubt, fear, but also hope. It was a crazy plan. It might not work, but it was better than sitting on Earth waiting to die. "How long do you need?" she asked. 2 weeks, Minu said. "Give me 2 weeks and I'll give you the stars." While Minu worked on FTL drives, Commander trained a new type of soldier. Not defenders, but raiders. Teams designed to operate behind enemy lines, to sabotage, destroy, and disappear before the enemy could respond. "Everything you know about conventional warfare, forget it," he told his trainees. "We're not trying to hold ground. We're not trying to win battles. We're trying to make the enemy afraid, to make them look over their shoulders, to make them realize that nowhere is safe." Sat in one of those training sessions. After his performance in the first battle, Captain had recommended him for special operations. Now he learned how to board enemy ships, how to plant bombs, how to escape from impossible situations. Speed and surprise, taught them. Those are your weapons. Hit them where they're weak when they're not looking, and always have an escape plan. Meanwhile, in her laboratory, a young woman named worked on a different kind of weapon. She was a hacker, one of the best Earth had ever produced. Before the invasion, she had been arrested 3 times for breaking into corporate and government systems. Now, those same governments were begging for her help. "Their network is beautiful," she said to Doctor, studying the Dominion's communication systems. "Complex, efficient, galaxy-spanning, and completely undefended against the kind of attacks I can create." "Can you break into it?" asked. Grinned, "I already have. I've been reading their messages for a week. Supply schedules, fleet movements, strategic plans. They think they're secure because they've never met a species with advanced computer hacking. They're wrong." "What have you learned?" His grin faded. "They're overextended. The Dominion controls hundreds of star systems, but they're having problems. Rebellions on a dozen worlds, supply shortages, internal conflicts. They're not as strong as they want everyone to believe." Leaned forward. "Can we use that?" "Oh yes," said. "We can definitely use that." 2 weeks later, exactly on schedule, Dr. Minu presented his work. The ship looked the same on the outside. A standard human destroyer named Indomitable, but inside, alien technology had been grafted onto human systems. It looked like a mess, wires and conduits running everywhere, but Minu swore it would work. Captain had volunteered to command humanity's first FTL mission. He stood on the bridge with a crew of 60, all volunteers, all knowing they might never return. "Our target is a Dominion fuel depot," Admiral explained over the radio. 3 star systems away. Intelligence says it supplies 100 ships. If we destroy it, we cripple their local fleet for weeks." "And if the FTL drive fails?" asked. Paused. "Then you'll drift in deep space until you die. I won't lie to you, Captain. This is a suicide mission, if you want to back out." Never interrupted. "When do we launch?" "Now." The Indomitable fired its engines and left Earth orbit. When it reached safe distance, Minu activated the alien FTL drive. Space twisted. Reality bent. For a moment, felt like he was being pulled apart and crushed together at the same time. Then they were somewhere else. 3 light-years from home, in a star system humanity had never visited. "It worked," breathed the navigator. "By all the stars, it actually worked." Allowed himself one moment of wonder, staring at alien stars through the... Then he became a soldier again. "Battle stations, find me that fuel depot." They found it quickly, a massive orbital station around a gas giant, ships coming and going constantly. There were guards, but not many. The Dominion had never been attacked this far from the before. Took the Indomitable in fast, weapons hot. The aliens scrambled to respond, but by then it was too late. Human missiles, loaded with Commander Sara's most powerful explosives, slammed into the fuel depot. The explosion lit up the system. Millions of tons of fuel ignited in a chain reaction that consumed the depot, 3 supply ships, and 2 destroyers that had been docked for refueling. "Get us out of here," ordered as alarms blared and Dominion reinforcements appeared on sensors. The FTL drive spun up again, space twisted, and the Indomitable vanished, leaving only wreckage behind. When they returned to Earth, the crew received a hero's welcome, but more importantly, they brought something precious, proof that humanity could strike back, that Earth's children could travel the stars, that the war had a new phase. Admiral didn't waste time celebrating. She immediately authorized production of more FTL ships. Within days, humanity had a dozen raiders ready to launch. Within weeks, scores more. Each one received intelligence from hacking operations. Each one had a specific target: fuel depots, supply convoys, communications relays, repair stations. The targets weren't chosen to win battles. They were chosen to make the Dominion hurt, to make them bleed, to make them afraid. Engineer Sara designed weapons specifically for these raids, quick to deploy, devastating in effect, and adaptable. "The aliens fight with doctrine and tactics perfected over centuries," she explained. "They have responses for every conventional attack, so we need to be unconventional, chaotic, unpredictable." She created missile systems that could change targeting mid-flight, bombs that looked like debris, mines that hunted enemy ships like predators. Each weapon was different, each attack unique. The Dominion's tactical computers couldn't predict what humans would do next, because humans didn't follow any logical pattern. They just caused chaos wherever they went. Lieutenant led ground assault teams that struck Dominion installations on occupied moons and asteroids. His soldiers moved like ghosts, hit like hammers, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. They freed prisoners, destroyed weapons, stole supplies. On one mission, they discovered something unexpected: alien slaves, species conquered by the Dominion, forced to work in mines and factories. Liberated them, gave them weapons, taught them to fight. "We're not just fighting for Earth," he told his soldiers. "We're fighting for everyone the Dominion has enslaved, every species they've conquered, every world they've destroyed. This is bigger than us now." The 3 Dominion armadas arrived at Earth's solar system 30 days after the first battle, exactly as predicted. They found nothing. The human fleet had scattered, using their new FTL drives to vanish into the depths of space. The Supreme Commander received reports from across Dominion territory. Human ships striking everywhere, supply lines cut, bases destroyed, and worst of all, rebellions. Species that had been conquered decades ago were rising up, inspired by Earth's defiance. His empire was burning, and these primitives had lit the match. "We have a choice," his tactical advisor said. "Commit everything to destroying Earth or pull back to defend our territory." The Supreme Commander stared at the star map, at the spreading chaos, at the impossible situation these humans had created. "Neither," he said finally. "We end this now. We hit Earth with everything we have, destroy it completely, and make an example that will terrify the galaxy into submission for 1,000 years." But as he gave the order, he wondered, could you terrify a species that didn't know how to be afraid? He was about to find out. The rebellion started on a mining world called Seven, where a species called the had been enslaved for 40 years. They were small, blue-skinned beings who had once been peaceful traders. The Dominion had conquered them in 3 days and put them to work extracting rare metals from their own planet. Then Lieutenant's raiders arrived. They hit the Dominion garrison at midnight, overwhelming the guards before an alarm could be raised. Walked into the slave quarters where thousands of lived in cramped conditions, and spoke through a translator device. "We are humans from Earth. The Dominion came to conquer our world. We fought back. We're still fighting. And we're here to offer you a choice: stay slaves or fight for your freedom." The elder, an old being named, stared at him with huge eyes. "The Dominion cannot be beaten. They are too powerful. They will destroy you." "Maybe," said, "but we'll die free. Can you say the same?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he stood up, straightening his bent back for the first time in years. "Give us weapons," he said. "We will fight." By dawn, 7 was free. By the end of the week, 3 more worlds had risen up, inspired by humanity's example and aided by human raiders. The Free Worlds Coalition was born. Doctor became humanity's voice to the galaxy. She traveled on FTL ships to liberated worlds, meeting with freed species, offering alliance and friendship. Some were cautious. Some were afraid. But many were desperate for hope, and humanity offered something the galaxy hadn't seen in a century: a chance to win. "We can't promise victory," told a gathering of freed leaders. "We can't promise safety. The Dominion is still powerful, still dangerous. But we can promise this: you won't fight alone. Earth stands with you. Humanity stands with you. Together, we can build something better than an empire of slaves." 6 species joined the coalition in the first month. 12 by the second. Each brought something unique: technology, knowledge, soldiers, resources. There were master engineers. There were incredible pilots. They had mental abilities that could disrupt computer systems. Together, they were stronger than any of them alone. Had become humanity's most famous fighter pilot. His tally of destroyed enemy ships had reached 47. Other pilots painted his symbol, a rising sun, on their fighters for luck. He hated the fame but loved the flying. On a mission near the Dominion frontier, his squadron encountered a refugee ship being chased by Dominion hunters. Didn't hesitate. He dove in, his fighter dancing through enemy fire, and destroyed 2 hunters before they knew what hit them. The captain thanked him over the radio, her voice full of emotion. "You saved my people. How can we repay you?" "Join us," said simply. "Fight with us. Help us free the galaxy." "We are not warriors," the captain replied. "We are merchants, traders." "Then trade intelligence, trade supplies, trade hope," interrupted. "There are many ways to fight. Find yours." They became some of the coalition's most valuable members, their trading network spreading information and supplies across liberated space. Meanwhile, Captain led increasingly bold raids deep into Dominion territory. His mission to the alien capital's outer defense network was insane, suicidal, impossible, which was exactly why it worked. The Indomitable, now upgraded with coalition technology, slipped past sensor nets designed to detect conventional ships. They planted virus packages created by in the defense network's main computers. The viruses lay dormant, waiting for activation. Getting in was dangerous. Getting out was worse. They were detected on the way back, chased by a dozen enemy ships. His crew fought a running battle for 6 hours, finally escaping only when an engineering team aboard the Indomitable managed to boost their FTL drive beyond safe limits. When they returned to base, found Admiral waiting for him. "The final pieces are moving," she said. "The Dominion is gathering its full strength. Every available ship, every soldier, every weapon. They're coming to end this war." "Where?" asked. "Their capital system. They're daring us to attack their heart while they attack ours," smiled grimly. "And we're going to accept that dare." The plan was complex, dangerous, and depended on everything working perfectly, which meant it probably wouldn't work at all. But it was the only chance they had. Engineer Sara developed hybrid weapon systems that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. Missiles that could phase through shields, torpedoes that carried mine disruptors, mines that pretended to be friendly ships until they exploded. "The Dominion has been the dominant power for centuries," she told her engineering teams. "They think they've seen everything. They're wrong. We're going to show them weapons they can't imagine, tactics they can't predict, and courage they can't understand. Counselor worked diplomacy while others worked war. She negotiated with neutral species, convincing them to close their borders to Dominion ships, to share intelligence, to look the other way when coalition raiders needed to hide. Every species that refuses to help the Dominion is a victory, she explained to skeptics. Every world that stays neutral is one less resource the enemy can use. We don't need everyone to fight with us. We just need them to stop fighting for the Dominion. Her greatest achievement was convincing a powerful neutral species, to allow coalition ships to use their space lanes. It cut travel time to the Dominion capital by weeks. But not everyone supported the coalition. Some freed species wanted revenge, wanted to commit the same atrocities the Dominion had inflicted on them. Doctor fought these impulses, arguing passionately for mercy and justice instead of vengeance. "If we become like them, we haven't won," she said during a heated coalition council meeting. "If we murder civilians, destroy homes, enslave the innocent, we're just another empire. We have to be better." "They showed us no mercy," argued a leader whose had been destroyed. "I know," replied softly, "and I'm sorry, but we have to be better, not for them, for us, for what we want the galaxy to become." The vote was close, but mercy won. The coalition would fight the Dominion military, but spare civilians and accept surrenders. It was a decision that would shape everything to come. Lieutenant trained mixed-species assault teams. Humans and others all learning to fight together. It wasn't easy. They had different biologies, different tactics, different cultures, but was patient. "Focus on strengths, not weaknesses," he taught them. "Humans are adaptable, are technical geniuses, have incredible reflexes, can sense emotions and predict behavior. Together, you're not just a team, you're something new, something the Dominion has never faced." His finest moment came on a world called, where Dominion forces had massacred a civilian population to punish their rebellion. His mixed team hunted down the commander responsible, not for revenge, but for justice. They captured him alive and brought him to trial before a coalition court. The message was clear. The coalition was not a mob, it was something better. As the weeks passed, the war changed. It wasn't just Earth against the Dominion anymore. It was freedom against tyranny, hope against despair, the future against the past. Hacking grew more sophisticated. She didn't just read Dominion communications now, she could fake them. She sent false orders that scattered enemy fleets, created fake intelligence that made them waste resources, turned their own systems against them. "Information is a weapon," she explained to intelligence officers. "Maybe the most powerful weapon we have. When the enemy doesn't know what's real and what's fake, they become paralyzed. They can't trust their own data, can't make confident decisions, and that's when we strike." The Dominion's supreme commander watched his empire crumble, rebellions everywhere, supply lines cut, communications unreliable, ships deserting. Even some of his own officers were questioning orders, wondering if this war could be won. He called his council together. "This ends at our capital," he declared. "We let them come. We let them bring their pathetic alliance. And then we crush them with such overwhelming force that no species will ever dare resist us again. Gather every ship, every weapon, every soldier, everything. The final battle approaches." His council agreed, but privately many wondered. What if the humans won? What if these primitives, these children of Earth, actually defeated the greatest empire the galaxy had known? It was unthinkable. But then, everything about humanity was unthinkable. Admiral gathered the coalition fleet. It was the largest free armada assembled in galactic history, thousands of ships from dozens of species, all united under one cause. Looking at it, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Pride and maybe, just maybe, hope. "We're going to their capital," she told her commanders. "We're going to end this war. not with conquest but with liberation, not with slavery but with freedom. The Dominion thinks strength means forcing others to obey. We're going to show them that real strength means choosing to stand together. Captain stood beside her, looking at the fleet. "It's going to be a hell of a fight," he said. Smiled, "When hasn't it been?" The Dominion capital system glowed with thousands of ships. Every vessel the Empire could gather, pulled from 100 systems, assembled for one purpose, to destroy the rebellion forever. The Supreme Commander stood on his flagship, watching sensor displays that showed his armada, the largest military force in galactic history. Against them came the Coalition fleet, smaller, weaker, outnumbered 20-1. But they came anyway. "All ships," Admiral broadcast across every frequency. "This is it, the moment we've fought for. Behind us are our worlds, our families, our freedom. Ahead of us is an empire that has enslaved the galaxy for centuries. Today we end that empire. Today we show them that free beings will always defeat tyrants. Today we win." The fleets collided like two waves of metal and fire. Captain led the first assault, his squadron diving into the Dominion lines. Beside him flew, now commanding his own flight wing. Behind them came ships with experimental shields, vessels with impossible speed, craft that could predict enemy movements. The battle was chaos, pure, beautiful, terrible chaos. His reflexes had never been sharper. He weaved through enemy fire like it wasn't even there, his weapons finding targets with impossible accuracy. In his first pass, he destroyed 3 enemy fighters and crippled a frigate. His second pass took out 2 more. "You're getting too far ahead," warned over the radio. "Can't help it, Captain," laughed, high on adrenaline and danger. "They're too slow." But the Dominion had numbers. For every ship the Coalition destroyed, 2 more appeared. Energy beams and missiles filled space like rain. Ships burned and died on both sides. On the Coalition flagship, Engineer Sora watched her weapon systems perform perfectly. The hybrid missiles she had designed punched through enemy shields. Her adaptive minds hunted capital ships like wolves hunting deer. Her crews worked with desperate efficiency, loading, firing, reloading, firing again. But it wasn't enough. Even with superior tactics and weapons, numbers mattered. The Coalition was being pushed back. "We need that virus," Admiral said to Now. His fingers flew across her console. She was connected to every Coalition ship, every computer system, coordinating the network while simultaneously trying to break into Dominion systems. Sweat dripped down her face. "Almost there," she muttered. "Just need them to open one more port, one more connection, got it." The virus that Captain had planted weeks ago activated. Suddenly, across the Dominion fleet, systems began failing. Weapon targeting went offline. Shield generators shut down. Navigation computers crashed. Ships that had been perfectly coordinated suddenly couldn't communicate with each other. The Supreme Commander stared in horror as his fleet descended into chaos. "What's happening?" he roared. "Unknown malware in our systems," his technical officer reported. "It's spreading through the network, shutting down everything. We can't stop it." Switch to local control, every ship on independent operation. But it was too late. The Dominion's greatest strength, their perfect coordination, had become their greatest weakness. The Coalition fleet pressed their advantage, tearing into confused and disorganized enemy formations. Yet the Dominion still had one advantage: the Supreme Commander's flagship, a massive dreadnought carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. It hadn't been affected by the virus because it ran on independent systems. Commander watched the dreadnought from his assault ship and made a decision. "This is Special Operations Team 1, he broadcast. "We're boarding the flagship, clear us a path." "That's suicide," someone replied. "Only if we fail," said calmly. Coalition ships focused fire on one section of the dreadnought's hull, blowing a hole large enough for steam to slip through. They docked in the middle of a firefight, cutting their way into the enemy ship, while explosions rocked the hull around them. Inside, they fought room by room, corridor by corridor. The aliens were huge, powerful, trained for centuries, but team fought with the desperation of those who knew this was their last chance. Lieutenant led ground assault forces against Dominion positions on the capital world's orbital stations. His mixed-species teams worked perfectly together. Humans breached doors, hacked security systems, provided covering fire, sensed enemy positions before they could ambush. They captured station after station, freeing slaves, destroying weapons platforms, cutting off the planet's defenses. Had lost count of how many battles he'd fought, how many soldiers he'd lost. But he kept fighting because that's what humanity did. They fought until they won, or until they died. On the Coalition flagship, Doctor monitored communications from across the battle zone. She broadcast messages to Dominion ships, offering them a chance to surrender, promising fair treatment and justice instead of revenge. Some ships took the offer. Not many at first, but as the battle turned against the Dominion, more and more began powering down their weapons. "We can win this without destroying them all," argued with military officers. "We can end this war with mercy, not massacre." Admiral agreed. "Signal all ships except surrenders. We're not here to commit genocide, we're here to end tyranny." Deep inside the dreadnought, Commander and his team reached the command center. They blasted through the doors to find the Supreme Commander waiting with his personal guard. The fight was brutal. Lost half his team in the first 30 seconds, but humans had learned to fight beings bigger and stronger than themselves. They used speed, tactics, and absolute refusal to give up. Finally, Only and the Supreme Commander remained, both wounded, both exhausted. The alien towered over him. "You should have bowed, human. Your species could have served us in comfort. Instead, you chose death." "We chose freedom," replied, "and will always choose freedom." They fought hand to hand. The Supreme Commander was stronger but was faster, more desperate, and fighting for something bigger than himself. When the alien commander finally fell, didn't kill him. Instead, he took him prisoner. "This war ends with justice, not murder," said into his radio. "We have the Supreme Commander, broadcasting terms of surrender now." The Dominion fleet received the message. Their leader captured, their systems failing, their perfect order collapsed into chaos. Ship after ship began powering down weapons and signaling surrender. The battle lasted 72 hours total. When it ended, the Coalition had won. Not easily, not cheaply. Thousands of ships destroyed, tens of thousands dead, but they had won. Captain floated in his damaged ship, staring at the wreckage around him. His voice came over the radio. "Captain, you still alive?" "Barely," laughed you. "I think I forgot how to stop shaking," admitted. "But yeah, I'm alive, we're alive, we won." Looked at Earth on his, that small blue world that had started this whole impossible journey. "Yeah," he said softly, "we won." 6 months later, the galaxy was a different place. The Dominion had collapsed into hundreds of independent systems. Some pursued peace, others clung to old ways, but the empire of slaves was gone, shattered by beings who refused to bow. The Free Worlds Coalition established a new government, democratic and fair. Counselor became its first Secretary General, working to heal the wounds of war and build lasting peace. Earth became known across the galaxy not as conquerors, but as liberators. Humans spread to the stars, not to dominate but to explore and learn. Captain retired from military service. He took a position teaching at the new Coalition Academy, training the next generation of officers. He taught them that strength without mercy was tyranny, that victory without justice was hollow, that real power came from standing together rather than standing over others. Doctor founded the Institute for Cooperation, working to unite the galaxy through understanding instead of force. Species that had been enemies for centuries began talking, trading, even becoming friends. Engineer Sara's designs revolutionized defensive technology. Her weapons were turned into shields, her instruments of war transformed into tools of peace. She made sure every coalition world could defend itself, but also made sure those defenses were only used against aggressors. Became a captain, commanding his own exploration vessel. He traveled to systems no one had ever visited, mapping new worlds, meeting new species, showing them that the galaxy had changed. Lieutenant stayed in service, but his role changed. Instead of leading soldiers into battle, he helped rebuild devastated worlds. Warriors became builders. Destroyers became creators. Commander led the coalition's peacekeeping forces, intervening in conflicts before they became wars, protecting the weak, stopping those who would return to the old ways of conquest. Became head of coalition intelligence. She used her skills not to break into systems, but to protect them. She made sure the galaxy's information stayed free and honest, that no species could hide their crimes or spread lies. The Supreme Commander stood trial for his crimes. A coalition court, with judges from a dozen species, heard testimony from thousands of victims. In the end, they sentenced him to life imprisonment on an isolated moon, where he would spend the rest of his days thinking about the empire he had destroyed through his own arrogance. Admiral remained in command of coalition forces, not because they needed a warrior, but because they needed a wise leader who understood both the cost of war and the value of peace. She stood on Earth one day, watching the construction of a new colony ship. A former Dominion officer approached her, curiosity in his expression. "I must know," the alien said. "How did your species win? We were larger, stronger, more advanced. We had conquered hundreds of worlds. By every logical measure, we should have crushed you. How did humans defeat the Dominion?" Looked at the colony ship, at the people from a dozen species working together on its construction. She thought about everything they had been through, everyone they had lost, everything they had accomplished. "You thought strength meant making others obey," she said finally. "You thought power meant control. You thought victory meant conquest, but you were wrong about all of it." "Then what is strength?" the alien asked. Smiled, watching the colony ship rise toward the stars. "Strength is choosing to stand when you could run. Power is lifting others up instead of holding them down. Victory is building something better than what came before. You thought Earth would bow because we were weaker, but you never understood. Humanity doesn't know how to bow. We only know how to rise, and when we rise, we bring everyone else up with us." The colony ship launched, carrying humans and aliens together toward a new world, a new future. The stars stretched out before them, endless and bright. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it had all started because one small blue world refused to surrender, refused to bow, refused to accept that might made right. Earth had risen, and the galaxy had risen with it.